The love story between Bella Swan and Jacob Black in the Twilight saga is actually a lot more poetic than what the movies depicted and what the fans generally give it credit for. Bella is depicted as this ordinary girl who has a lot of insecurities about herself and her body. Her self-image isn't the best because she's constantly around these supernatural beings who she views as super gorgeous and super graceful, and so that causes a lot of comparisons in her mind. So she becomes terrified of her growing older and what beauty she thinks she does have withering away with time. And as a result, Bella is infatuated with this idea of becoming a vampire so that she can become immortal and she doesn't have to age. And those are all things that Edward can provide for her if he bites her, which does increases his overall appeal to her, whether she's actively aware of it or not. But the process of becoming a vampire, at least the way it's described in Carlisle's experience, is that someone is generally on the brink of death and they cross over from the state of living to the state of undead. And using this framework, we can view Bella's desire of becoming a vampire as a form of suicidal ideation. In order to become a vampire, your heart literally has to stop beating and you stop breathing. And so once we view Bella's actions through a suicidal lens, the parallels to Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet become more apparent. Bella is completely willing to give up her life in order to be with the love of her life. And by committing to Edward, she relinquishes everything of her past life, from her college aspirations, her school friends, her mom, her dad, and her best friend, Jacob. And so if this is the case, Jacob represents everything that Bella could have had if she wasn't so psychologically damaged and self-destructive. If Edward was her drug, then Jacob was Bella's medicine. He pulls her from her depression, he stops her nightmares, he shows her how to smile and laugh again, and he just overall brings a lot of hope back into her life. Jacob's persistence in trying to get Bella to choose him represents life desperately clinging on to this suicidal girl and trying to prevent her from taking her own life. It works for a while, but her deep dissatisfaction with life eventually slips through the cracks of her fleeting happiness. It was always going to be Edward because death is inevitable. But for the briefest of moments, life was easy, it was warm, it was beautiful. Bella didn't have to pretend to be alive anymore. With Jacob, she just was. He brought out the absolute best in her, a temptation of something worth living for. If you want to understand my appreciation for the core of Bella and Jacob's love story in Twilight, it shares a lot of similarities with a much better written and executed story in this movie called Past Lives, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was released in 2023, written and directed by Swan, and a lot of how I view the tragicness in Bella and Jacob's story is very similar to the characters in Past Lives. Childhood friends are separated, and due to external factors that are out of their control, they never really get to embrace the romantic aspect of the relationship, even though they would have been perfect for each other in every way possible.